Pastor Latham, for some time now, you've been concerned about leadership issues in Fort Wayne. What caused you to have these concerns?
Well, one, I think I've been here long enough, since 1970. So since 1970 up until this present date, I've been involved in the community. I've been preaching since 18. Been at the Minister Alliance meeting from that time up until basically when Dr. Bledsoe died and Reverend Hunter took over. After Hunter, there have not been, to my knowledge, any pastoral meetings for the Alliance. And being the past vice president of that group, I would assume that president now, which is Pastor Nicholson, I should have been one of the main persons he stayed in contact with because he and I both was heavily involved. I have not talked to him. I don't know what the Alliance is doing, to my knowledge, as a leader in a community. I don't know what's happening. That's disturbing to me. And when I talk to young people about homicides and those kind of things, and they challenge me on the fact that leaders are doing the same thing they've doing, and the only difference is, the young man told me they use guns, and we use our mouths. And I asked him, what do you mean by that? We talk about it, and we don't back up what we're saying. And several young people have told me that, and unfortunately, I have to agree with them. I'm used to people backing up what they're saying, working together, standing for that which is right. But now my belief as a pastor, as a person that's been here, we have leaders that are more concerned about their own careers than they are community. I think the community is the last on their agenda. I think their own personal growth and success is about them. And lifestyle, I think, plays a great part in terms of having respect is earned, not just given. And I think a lot of our black leaders have not earned it. I worked hard in my life to be a man in the mirror that folk can see what I do or don't do. And I've been challenged and I had to repent. But I want people to see I will repent and yet work hard on what they see that is right by their opinion to change my behavior or my way of how to lead people. I don't want to pretend with people. I think that's what happens a lot. It happens because we want people to elect us into office, and then it happens because we want people to believe that we are God men, but yet not trying to do all the things that we can to do in a godly way. Excuse me. So, and leadership don't sit down and talk, and we don't sit down and talk honestly and openly and be truthful. And I think we ought to be able to sit at a table and disagree without being disagreed.
What are some of the issues right now that you think leadership should be talking about?
Well, one, I think we ought to spend more of our time trying to figure out how can we resolve the crime issue. And I think the crime issue cannot be resolved if leadership have not taken a good examination of itself. Because those people that are doing what they do, they have a lack of trust in leadership and lack of police. So then leaders ought to be thinking about, that's a problem, what can we do to fix that? And each individual will have to be honest and sit at the table and be honest with ourselves if we're going to be leaders. Then I think the Minister Alliance group that I was part of for most of my ministry, well, all of my ministry, there's funds that have been given. There are statements that have been made. And our end of town, southeast, have not been notified or talked to about what's happening. And I think leadership we have to hold leadership accountable for what they say and actually what they should be doing. And I think the black community don't do that quite well.
You said there have been funds that have been given and promises essentially made. What are you speaking of? It sounds like you have something very specific.
That is the landfill waste management way back in '02 and probably 2000, maybe in the earlier 90s, when even New Haven began to protest against the landfill. And the Alliance got involved. And make a long story short, eventually the landfill when it decided to close down, cap everything up. They donated pretty close to 200 acres to the Fort Wayne Minister Alliance. In that meeting with Dr. Bledsoe, Dr. Sam Walker, remember Dr. Reverend Fincher, other pastors, those guys are dead and gone now. So I speak for them because I know what they said. That the land, they voted in Dr. Bledsoe's office that the land would not be sold. They didn't want to sell it. They wanted to develop it and figure out a plan that what we could do with it. Well, that never was carried out. All of those fellows died after the land was given to us. I think Dr. Bledsoe died in 06, Dr. Walker died in 07, I believe. Reverend Fincher just died 2 years ago. And of course, the other pastors that was in that meeting. And then in 07, when Reverend Nicholson became the president of the Alliance, which I was with, that made the nomination to have him to become president of the Alliance. I have not heard from Pastor Nicholson. He have not called me. He have not invited me to meetings. He have not kept me up to date. That concerned me. In 07, he sold the land. The land price that we received was $485,000. I can't quote the exact figure, but I know it's $480-some thousand. And then when you look at the figures for clearing up other things, when the land was sold, taxes and other things, and on the property, that kind of thing, the Alliance did receive a check from the county for $385,000. And I won't go into the other dimes of it because I want to quote it correctly, but I do know it's $385,000. I have not been in a meeting, have not been invited to a meeting, and I'm one of the pastors of this community have worked on boards, have president 2 pastoral groups, and the vice president of Alliance, president of NAACP, and I have not been contacted. And I think if a person that's been in my position as this long term, not to be notified, not to be talked to, I can imagine how the community must feel. So that money I'm concerned about. My hope is that none of it have not been spent without permission from the Fort Wayne Minister Alliance. And I know the Fort Wayne Minister Alliance have not been meeting. That's with pastors. That's a pastoral group from all races and all denominations. That group have not met.
And you're positive that they have?
I'm positive they have not met. I would know by now if they met. I've talked to Pastor Nicholson. Remember they had a meeting to vote Pastor Bell as the president, which I think that should have not been done. I couldn't get to that meeting. And that's the last meeting that I've been made aware of that the Alliance have had. And I think to vacate me from keeping me aware of what's happening, and I think part of that reason is because there are some other ideas, agendas, and they know I would speak straightforward, honest, regardless of who I'm talking to. And if I'm being treated like that as a pastor in a community, then I think the community is in much worse shape than I would be because information has not been given.